You ever pull up to your own house, fresh keys in hand, dreams in your back pocket, and find a blockade of people staring you down like you just tried to rob the place? Yeah, that happened to me. I'd spent months wrestling through deals and paperwork to land this mansion north of Dallas, and let me tell you, that first crunch of tires on my new gravel driveway was supposed to be my I made it moment. Instead, the gate stood shut dead still, while three people, two muscle-bound guys in HOA polos and a woman in a navy suit with hair sprayed so tight it looked bulletproof, glared at me like I was the neighborhood's next big problem. She introduced herself without words, arms crossed so tight you'd think she was holding the place together through sheer willpower. Sandra Whitfield, HOA president, queen of the cul-de-sac, judge and jury, all rolled into one. Her two henchmen looked like they were used to scolding folks about trash cans. But today, I guess I was their morning workout. So I roll my window down, keep my tone cool, but sharp enough to cut Texas humidity, and ask what the hell's going on. She doesn't blink. This community has strict standards. I'll need proof of ownership before you set one tire past this point. That's how she said it. Like I was trying to sneak into Fort Knox, not my own damn driveway. Now, I've been through plenty negotiating real estate wrangling with city councils fending off contractors who thought they could outmaneuver me. But this wasn't about paperwork. This was about control, plain and simple. And just to make it a real party, neighbors started peeking from behind hedges, one guy even filming from his porch. I thought about just sitting there letting them sweat. But instead I got out, stood tall, calm, made the enforcer shift, like they suddenly had somewhere better to be. You want to see papers? Fine, but remember this moment. I'm walking through that gate as the rightful owner of this home. Sandra. She just smirked, let it hang in the air, then hit me with, "We don't usually see people like you buying homes here. I'll let you fill in the blanks on that one." Before I could answer, her muscle pipes up, "We can stand here all day or you can show us documents." I felt that old itch to fight back, but I kept it steady. This wasn't the first time someone tried to block my path. I reached for my briefcase ready to end the circus, but just then, like something out of a movie, three black SUVs rolled up behind mine headlights, cutting through the evening. Doors opened, and out stepped my crew guys I served with overseas brothers in arms who'd seen worse than any HOA drama. Let me tell you, their presence changed everything. They didn't need to say a word. Sandra's mask slipped for the first time, her henchmen looking ready to disappear. Phones popped up all over the place suddenly. This wasn't just a neighborhood spat, it was a show. Sandra tried to hold the line. "This is a private matter between you and the HOA," but I laughed, the kind that doesn't warm a room. They're family, Sandra. That mansion's my home, and tonight I'm welcoming the people who had my back when it counted. The big enforcer, Brett, tried to play diplomat. "If you got proof, let's see it, then we'll get out of your way." But Sandra doubled down, claiming it wasn't about papers, it was about protecting the community. Her other sidekick, Neil, blurted, "He literally has the keys." I had to grin. Finally, I held the deed high. Signed, sealed, notarized. "You want to inspect it?" "Fine. But you've got 30 seconds, then I'm calling the sheriff." That was the moment she started to crack. Neighbors whispered, kids recorded from their bikes. Nobody was looking at Sandra as queen anymore. I wasn't about to hand over my documents for her to twist later, so I snapped the case shut and gave the signal. My guys stepped forward, calm and solid. The gate's remote was in my hand. A little click, and that wrought iron monster creaked open, slow and dramatic, like it knew which side to take. Sandra froze. Her enforcers looked at the ground, and the crowd gasped. We rolled in headlights, splashing over her as she stood there, stiff, powerless, exposed. But you know the type, Sandra didn't back down. She just simmered, already plotting the next move. You'd think that'd be the end, right? Nah, this was only round one. My house, my crew. but the air was heavy, like everyone was waiting for what came next. Even inside my own foyer, it didn't feel like victory. My buddy Marcus, grinning, always the joker, said, "Man, I've seen friendlier checkpoints in Afghanistan." It got a laugh, but I could tell everyone felt the same ache. We raised a glass anyway. To new beginnings, to holding your ground, to never letting anyone decide where we belong. Still, every few minutes I'd catch someone glancing at the windows, neighbors' camera flashes in the night. By sunrise, the story was all over the neighborhood. Videos online, captions like HOA president blocks new homeowner, some people cheering me on, others painting me as trouble. Sandra wasn't quiet either. Next thing I know, she's at my door again, clipboard in hand, Brett and Neil trailing like beaten dogs. She rattles off violations, too many vehicles, unapproved gathering, display of military equipment, meaning my friends. Marcus cracked up. "You regulating friends now?" But Sandra wasn't laughing. This time even Brett and Neil looked uneasy, mumbling apologies when she tried to flex. That evening something changed. My people kept showing up. Not just my original crew, but more veterans, old friends, men and women who'd fought for a lot more than property lines. Carla, sharp-eyed and tough, walked straight up and hugged me loud enough for Sandra to hear, "Heard you had trouble at the gate." My porch filled up, laughter spilling out, and for the first time Sandra was the outsider. She circled in her silver SUV, desperate to regain control, shouting about excessive vehicles and community standards. Damien, another vet, just smirked. "We've kept streets safe tougher than this, lady." The neighbors weren't buying her act anymore. She tried to stare me down. "This is my neighborhood, my rules, you don't scare me." But I didn't need to yell, "This stops now, Sandra. You don't get to decide who belongs here." My friends lined the porch, quiet but unbreakable. For a moment the whole street went silent, even the cicadas seemed to listen. Sandra's authority shattered, but you could tell she wasn't finished, not by a long shot. That night the neighborhood buzzed with gossip and cell phone clips. Some folks admitted Sandra had gone too far. Others muttered, "I'd brought trouble with me." The divide was real. Next morning, a handful of neighbors, Howard and Denise, sweet older couple, showed up with cookies and a real apology. "Not everyone feels the way Sandra does," they said. That hit harder than I expected. I didn't come here to fight, but I wasn't backing down. But Sandra, she was busy weaponizing rules. Soon enough, bright orange violation notices were taped to my gate. Unauthorized assemblies, security risk, failure to maintain harmony. Marcus ripped it down, shaking his head. "She's desperate." Neighbors gathered again, whispers rising. Then Sandra showed up to deliver a public shaming, yelling about bylaws and peace. But the crowd had changed. People started calling her out. "That's not leadership, that's control." Even Gerald, her own board member, spoke up. "You turned the HOA into your weapon, Sandra. That ends now." When I dropped that violation notice at her feet, you could feel the shift, her control crumbled, and I wasn't alone anymore. Still, I knew the fight wasn't finished. My friends had advice: learn the bylaws, outmaneuver her legally, or just keep showing up and proving I was nothing like what she said. So that's what I did. I stopped hiding, waved to joggers, shot hoops with neighbor kids, made small talk at the mailbox. It worked. Little by little, faces softened. More folks dropped by to say I was welcome. Even Ethan, a young dad, told me we stayed quiet because it was easier, but last night was different. That's how you win a community, not with shouts, but with actions. Sandra, meanwhile, was losing grip, her own board muttering about a vote of no confidence. The next HOA meeting wasn't just another formality. Half the neighborhood showed up. I sat in the middle, not the front, didn't want to look like I was gunning for her job. Sandra defended herself, claimed everything was about protecting the community, but by now her voice was more shrill than steady. When it was my turn, I kept it plain. If it can happen to me, it can happen to any of you. Respect, not suspicion, should be the foundation here. Gerald called for a vote. Sandra's supporters, maybe a dozen, raised hands. The rest, most of the room, stood up hands high, wanting change. Just like that, Sandra was out. She gathered her papers in silence, walked out without a word, no gloating, no victory lap. Just relief, just a room full of people who realized maybe they wanted a neighborhood, not a fiefdom. As for me, I finally got to close my front door and breathe. But before you go, tell me, if someone blocked your gate and said you didn't belong, would you fight or just walk away? Drop your thoughts below. Let's talk about what respect and justice mean where you live. And if you believe in standing your ground, stick around for more stories that matter.